Thank you all for being here today. I'm Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty, and I'm proud to be here today with our team. Attorney General Keith Ellison was unavailable to be here today. We are now in July, which marks 6 months since Renee Good and Alex Preddy were shot and killed by federal officers, and Julio Sosa Solis was shot and injured, also by a federal officer. 6 months of relentless collective effort by our office, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and Attorney General Keith Ellison's office to obtain and review all of the evidence in these cases. Today, I am proud to announce that we have reached another important milestone in our work. Through the cooperation of our federal partners, we have obtained the hard drives of previously withheld evidence in the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy and the shooting of Julio Sosa Solis. We have also obtained some of the physical evidence that was previously withheld, including Renee Good's car. Our lawyers are working collaboratively with the BCA, the Attorney General's Office, and our federal partners to facilitate ongoing evidence exchange. The BCA has also shared its files on these cases with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I want to thank our federal partners for their willingness to consider changing course to share evidence and promote public trust. Obtaining this evidence has been a priority for us since January 7th. It has been rightfully demanded by our community for the past 6 months. The collective effort from our staff, the Attorney General's Office, and the BCA to make this happen is staggering. We are incredibly grateful for the ongoing pro bono support we've received from the Washington Litigation Group and the Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection at Georgetown. I have been consistent that we have not prejudged any of these instances, and also that we need transparency. We need cooperation. Our community needs it. Alex Preddy and Renee Good's families deserve it. Julio Sosa Solis deserves it. Our democracy requires it. For the 2 cases where we have filed charges against federal officers, we reached those decisions after thorough, fair, and complete review of the available evidence. After receiving this evidence, we immediately began to analyze it in the context of the evidence that we already had. This analysis is ongoing, and it will be every bit as thorough, fair, and complete. We are committed to seeing this through, to making a decision and being transparent about it, no matter where the evidence takes us. Before I close, I want to thank our team that is standing here with me today and others who could not be here, who have worked many, many hours to get us to this point. Questions? Ernesto?
Mary, good morning. Can you tell us whether the information that you've obtained includes the identities of the agents who shot Renee Good and Alex Preddy? And I'm wondering if you can shed light on what changed. Is this related to the lawsuit? Did the feds come to you because they needed your evidence into the Christian Castro case? Something seems to have changed in their calculus, and I'm wondering what was it and at what level was it authorized? Does the White House agree that information sharing now makes sense?
So your first question is, did the evidence that we receive identify the names of the agents who shot and killed Alex Preddy? I'm going to defer to the BCA on that. We are trying to follow the protocols that we would follow if deadly force was used against a community member by a Minnesota law enforcement agent. That is typically released by the BCA, so I'll just defer to the BCA.
Okay.
I want to talk in general in response to your second question there about how this began, who's responsible for it. From January 7th, I've been consistent in saying that all of us here locally wanted to do the same thing that we have done in every other case, which was to share information, to do joint investigations. We had that agreement for a period of time, and then it was stopped. I will say the conversations have never stopped. happening between the local agencies here, including the FBI, the BCA, our office, the U.S. Attorney's Office. So those conversations never stopped. And I'm grateful that our federal partners came to this place where they realized that getting back to normal, because this is what this really is. This is getting back to normalcy, which we all have wanted. We were trying to do that since Renee Good was shot. And now we're back to that place. Lou?
I know you don't wanna give like a hard timeline, but can you give the public a kind of an idea of what this changes as far as timing to be able to come to a decision of whether or not you file charges? And then just to piggyback on that, is there conversation with the U.S. Attorney's Office about them potentially charging, or is that completely not there yet?
So the question is about, does this change the timing in terms of when or whether our office is able to make a charging decision? So we got a voluminous amount of discovery, and we began looking at that last week. We continue to look at it. I've always been transparent about this. I've never promised any deadlines because those would be artificial. We will be thorough, we will be complete, and we will make a decision. We will be very public about that. The wonderful thing is now is we have all the evidence. We don't have to speculate about what we don't have. So that certainly makes our analysis, our examination much easier once we're able to get through the volume of information that we have.
What condition was the evidence in?
Excuse me, what was that?
What condition was the evidence in?
Well, we got hard drives. The question is, what condition was the evidence in?
Because there's been a lot of speculation over whether or not it was properly preserved, everything was collected properly, that sort of thing.
We're in the process of going through all that evidence. We did get the hard drives from our federal partners. That includes statements, that includes body-worn camera. We got, in the BCA currently has Renee Good's car. That has been analyzed. We are not at the point now to be able to talk about the state of any of the evidence. We are thoroughly looking at it to make sure, to actually see what we have, and put things together.
Did you have the
Max.
do you have the guns from the officers or the shell casings, and is that type of physical evidence that you need?
Question is, do we have the guns, the physical evidence? The BCA has been able to obtain much of the physical evidence. We are in the process of inventorying that and seeing what we have.
Is there still?
Esme?
What day did you get the evidence, and what day were you told you were getting the evidence?
This has been an ongoing process. These conversations actually never stopped from when Renee Good was shot and killed. We have continuously been having conversations. And if you want to look at the conversations or get kind of an overview of those, you can look at our federal lawsuit, because we do document in there the conversations that we've been having. So in some respect, they never stopped. I believe we received the first evidence here about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. I can't give you an exact date because this has just been ongoing for weeks.
This was before July 7th, though, that you started receiving the information.
It's the 13th.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. I was like, what month are we in here? Yes, it was. It was. Jeff.
I don't know if you can speak to this, but there have been other times in this process where it has felt like state investigators were close to getting evidence or getting agreements to join investigations, and that they were largely scuttled at the level of Washington DC, not locally. Did Washington DC play a role in this? Were they aware of it? Was the Department of Justice from a high-ranking level aware of this? Do you have any insight into that?
The question is about what role, if any, did Washington DC, the administration, play in this? I can't answer that question. Our conversations have been with our local partners, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the BCA. We have all been working together, and I can't speak to the conversations that the federal government has had.
But theoretically, or not theoretically, but those local agencies would have had to have followed federal protocols to exchange this evidence, correct?
I'm not going to speak, I can't speak to their protocol or what they did here. We are just extremely grateful that they recognize the need to get back to what's normal here, and that they recognize here locally how important this is to our community, to the families of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. So we're extremely grateful to all of the federal partners for bringing us back to the way it should have been back on January 7th.
we know that you had been already able to receive things like videos through that portal and, other things that are more easily publicly accessible. Did you have medical stuff like autopsy results and things that are important for analyzing, or is that included in this?
So the question was about, we did receive, I think over 1,000 submissions. So this goes back to when Renee Good and Alex Preddy were shot and killed. We asked the public for any information that they had, including videos. My recollection was that we received over 1,000 submissions. So we've had that information. Obviously, it was a lot to go through, but our team has gone through that. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner did the autopsies on both Renee Good and Alex Preddy. So we have had that information. That is not something that we had to get from our federal partners.
You said several times that you're thinking, the U.S. Attorney, were they sort of the go-between or the conduit allowing for this information to come through, or was it people in your office that were directly talking to the feds?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, I'll just tell you that the BCA, our staff, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI have all been having conversations since January 7th about sharing this information. That's been very up and down, as we've recorded in our federal lawsuit. For whatever reason, and I think it's because all of our federal partners here understand that it's important to get back to the way things have always been. It is important to get all of this information to us for the sake of potential accountability and at least transparency. I've said from the beginning here that anytime the government is responsible in whatever way for taking the life of a community member, we need to have a full and thorough and complete investigation, and we need transparency in what a decision is, and we need transparency into how we got there. So we are simply grateful that our federal partners moved to the place where they recognize how important this is as well. As to our local partners, there doesn't seem to be any space between what we should have because they've given that evidence to us.
Mary, you
Yes.
mentioned
How are you confident that that they've turned over all the evidence here?
We are in the process of looking through all of it, but I will say they've been very transparent. As I said, we've had discussions for weeks on this about what they have, how it's coming to us. So we have the expectation that we do have everything that they have, and that we're in conversation about some things that maybe we haven't gotten yet that they are willing to give to us. So
Mary?
they've been very transparent about that.
Mary Moriarty, Renee Good's car, which agency held that evidence, and then at what point did the county attorney's office or the BCA obtain that evidence?
My recollection about Renee Good's car is that came to the BCA not last week, but the week before that. The BCA currently has her car. Yes.
Mary, you mentioned that the state provided some evidence to the feds. What pieces of evidence were they eager to get from you? Can you give us a clear sense of what it was that they were interested in obtaining? And from your standpoint, as you look forward to making a charging decision, what type of evidence in the Good, Preddy, and Sosa Solis cases were you most interested in getting from the federal government? Like, what were the missing pieces in your evidentiary review in those cases?
So the question was about, was there a particular case that the federal government was interested in getting the BCA's evidence? I would say from my discussions and what I understand, they were interested in getting all of our evidence in all three cases. I mentioned in answer to your second question there, was there a particular piece of evidence that we were looking for? I'd mentioned before that as prosecutors, we are not typically in the position of trying to figure out what we don't have that might be in existence. So we knew, for instance, from media that the federal agents were wearing body cams during the interaction with Alex Preddy. But we didn't know whether that was true or not. So we now have all of that information. I wouldn't say that
Do
there's
you
a
have footage of that?
I believe we do have, I'm told we have the body cam evidence. But this is voluminous. This is hours and hours and hours of video. And so we are in the process of going through that. I want to emphasize too, anytime you are looking at a case for potential charges or not, you want to be as thorough as you possibly can. So obviously we wanted absolutely every piece of evidence that they have because it's really important to a lot of people that we get this right. And so now that we have that evidence, we have begun the process of looking through it to see where we may land. Yes?
Has the BCA set a timeline for returning that car to Renee Good's partner? Is that being considered? Is there communication there?
Question is, has the BCA, are they planning to return the car to Renee Good's partner? I would direct you to the BCA on that.
Let's do 2 more questions, please.
There are 2 other cases where that ICE agents are charged, and this has come up in court hearings on at least one of those. Has this had any impact on those cases, and did those cases have any impact on reaching this agreement?
The comment is about our 2 cases against Mr. Castro and Mr. Morgan. Is this related to that in any way? I think, and I will speculate here, that I think it made a difference that we were willing to press forward. And by that, I mean seeking accountability and transparency, as we are with our Transparency and Accountability Project. That we were dedicated here to finding answers for our community, for the families. And so it may have, I don't know, but our willingness to seek transparency and not give this up, despite a number of barriers, which we certainly outline in our lawsuit, may have made a difference, but I don't know. One last question.
The relationship that you have right now between your team and the team at the federal level, I mean, is it just the regular old, the way it was just a few years ago with any other case? Or is it a little frostier? Or, I mean, there was such a depiction of just these 2 sides being so dismissive of each other, especially on the feds, being dismissive of the local effort. I mean, you're just wondering what kind of relationship you guys have now?
The question is about the relationship between our office and the U.S. Attorney's Office. I have to emphasize that it was always the situation that the local partners wanted to work together. That was the agreement that we had after Renee Good was shot and killed on January 7th. It was after that the BCA was not allowed to participate. So I don't know that the change in relationship, it hasn't been among the local partners here. We have always been talking. We've always been trying to work through this. And we're grateful that we were able to work through it. I wouldn't describe it as frosty. And so I think you have to differentiate between the local partners here with whom we've had those relationships and what might be said by other people. One last
Would
question.
you say, yeah,
One-
thanks so
yep.
much. So the confirmation hearings for Todd Blanche are coming up. Did that play a role in this? And was our congressional delegation able to weigh in here and maybe put some pressure on the feds?
I can't, the question is about Todd Blanche's confirmation hearings coming up. Did that play a role? I don't know. That you'd have to direct that question to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Did the congressional delegation play a role? I will say about that, since the beginning, when Renee Good was shot and killed, everybody has been putting pressure on the federal government because everybody expects that when a person in the community is shot and killed by the government, that there is a thorough and complete investigation. That clearly was not happening. So you've seen that from any number of people in elected positions, appointed positions, to try to get us back to a point where that was how it worked, because it's critically important for trust, the community, and just for justice here. People need to understand what happened here. They need to hear what our decision is, and they need to hear why. Thank you so much.